Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Jesse, your DM.
Cody playing Lazarus.
Brennan playing Dis.
Mike playing Nim.
Britt playing Kenna.
And we are Double Doubles and Dragons. We're a group of goofy Canadians that have gotten together to play a little D&D. Sometimes we will say things that are inoffensive. We mean them as jokes, of course, and they're certainly funny to us, but some people may find this offensive. If you do, we apologize, but we don't want any hate mail about it. So just don't listen, okay? Let's jump right into the action. Welcome back, everybody. So, somebody over there talk. Just make sure we're good.
Hello.
Okay, seems fine. So, we are back. For those of you listening in, our Lazarus is back today, so we'll probably be spending some time with him for the first part of this session, but let's start with the easy stuff. So, in inspiration, Kenna and Dis, you both have used your inspiration. Excuse me. Did either of you do anything particularly inspiring last session?
I got us to keep reflective spoons. Maybe not a good thing for us, but it was a way to save
We did
Lazarus.
do that.
That is a good point. I'm more than willing to give an inspiration for something like that.
All right.
Idiot.
Keeping a reflective spoon in your pouch after you watched a reflective spoon eat Lazarus is definitely worthy of
They
inspiration.
also said disemboweled Denise back and forth between the two of them, waiting for me to say the third one the entire session.
And Kenna didn't.
Kenna did not. Usually she can get swayed by them. This time she didn't.
That's a good point. With Lazarus gone, Kenna did have to be the rock.
She did.
All right. I'm
At
willing
least the
to.
DM admits who's the rock.
I'll give for that. Who knows? You might need it anyway. So.
I'm thinking I will.
All right. So another thing, and obviously we've just gotten back to doing this, but experience again because we are no longer in downtime, and you guys are out doing stuff. You haven't fought anything yet, but you've been accomplishing little tasks and unlocking little secrets. So for today, it is 700 experience each.
48,700.
Or does
No.
Lazarus get the one from last session?
Yes, and Lazarus would get the one from
49.
last session, which was
Where-
1,000, I think.
So 49,700.
Yeah.
Yes.
And who knows, you might even earn a little extra experience for yourself. Since you're alone, things you do will only apply to you.
Oh no, experience gaps.
Well, we'll see. We will see. In terms of a recap, so we were inside some sort of house that had a bunch of religious stuff all over the doors and windows that seemed to be kind of protecting it from the vines, maybe, or at the very least keeping the kind of aura of evil out of the place. But then some stuff happened. Everybody had split up to investigate the house, and Nim suddenly heard a "ugh," and then the thump of something hitting the ground and ran into the kitchen to see what was up, and Lazarus was just gone. There was a reflective spoon sitting on the counter, and the golden rod used to summon his god weapon was sitting on the ground, all by itself. So, a little disconcerting. Nim happily picked up the weapon for Lazarus and stored it away for a while, and you guys dirtied up the spoon and made sure nothing else bad would happen. Then you investigated the rest of the house, and you found a little journal that Nim's going to have to take some time to deal with, when he has time.
Well, I already kind of half deciphered it, right?
That's true. It's more just that there are so many pages missing. It's, you don't feel like you're getting the whole picture at this point. But who knows? Maybe those pages are somewhere else, somewhere around. You also still have one house that you mean to investigate, although you're back at the bar now, since you were pretty sure nightfall might come a little early, or at least you were worried about it. And you found out that... What was some other stuff you guys figured out? Am I missing anything?
We went to the
major?
X's and O's houses.
That's right. You found out that the houses with the X's on it seem to have vines feeding on human bodies in the back rooms, and the ones with circles didn't, but the ones with circles seem to move around, so that's a little weird.
Yep. And the X's and the O's change on different houses. Yeah, fun fact. That happens. Also, Some of the houses are in much better condition than the other ones. We mentioned the crest with Lance. No, that was, I guess, a few sessions ago.
Yeah.
That was the one that was there.
Yeah, he was there for that. Oh, they did do... What did you guys do to blow out all the... Oh, so they went and checked out that other room upstairs, the room that nobody had been in, and inside that room was complex geometric patterns carved into the floor, the walls, the ceiling. There were candles sitting there, still burning, not dripping any wax that seemed cold if you passed your hand over the top of them. And then on the bed was another geometric pattern, all in blood, with a bunch of children's toys in the middle of it. Dis helpfully tried to investigate and tried to kind of grab the stuff in the middle, which immediately turned to dust and began unraveling the pattern on the bed, which then began unraveling the pattern in the rest of the room. And when all was said and done, there was kind of a blowout of air and all of the windows in the building shattered, removing all of the religious symbols. They also found an urn underneath. What did you guys do with the urn? You kept
We
it,
have
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an urn filled with something that was under the bed that they managed to retrieve.
It's ashes. We
Yeah.
know that there's ashes. We also went into the 3 huts in the back.
Right, into one of them was a shitter house. And
One's a timeout.
yeah, one seems to be some sort of timeout shack.
And there was something carved into it.
It was.
Apologies for those listening. Several of us have moderate to severe coughs. So.
Yeah, sorry. I think they're dead. Is that the one? No. I have a lot of notes from last session. All right, so the one on the right was a garden shed, but the lock was on the inside of the shed, with no way to open it from the outside. But there was a crescent-shaped moon on one of the boards in the back that so a small, tiny human could crawl in and out of.
And the inscription on the roof said, "They're coming for me. They say I have to save the town."
Yeah, and it was the timeout area for the children.
You also found some stuff with the journal and some papers.
Mm-hmm.
They found some children's drawings that had been burned or degraded.
Are
And
you ready to hear what those say?
yeah, there was a poem on the back.
Lovely.
It's time to play with this emboweled Denise. Call her name 3 times in the deep, deep dark. Stare in the mirror and hold your knees. Don't chicken out and turn on the light or she will keep your soul for life. All of the drawings had that on it. All of the drawings.
Okay.
And then you had some messages in the journal as well. Probably good to catch Lazarus up on those.
All right.
The journal that they found, by the way, has been heavily molded and degraded. So not all the pages are there. Not all of the pages that are there were completely readable. He kind of got sentence fragments over a certain period.
So it was Father Xander's journal. And on the first page it says Bard is kidnapping children. On pages 4 and 5 it said found proof of something, he was digging up bodies. And on pages 14 and 15 it said have to stop it, I think they're dead.
And there was one other message. But I don't think it was necessarily in the journal, but there was one other message we haven't mentioned.
There's one carved into the roof of the left hut that says
We've
they're
got
coming
that
for
one.
me. We did go then?
Yeah.
Okay. The one we think is still plants.
There was another one,
Oh,
something about
there was-
proof.
Oh, the children's...
I think I have enough proof now.
now
You definitely
that
kidnapped the
kidnapped
children.
Yeah.
That was in the priest's house.
Yeah, that was a ripped out page.
In a locker in the priest's house.
With a bunch of children's clothing.
Right, yes. Which we found out from Willie that apparently the father was fostering all the children whose parents had gotten sick or disappeared. But we don't know where they slept or anything.
I think that catches us up. Does
Yeah.
anybody remember anything else?
What?
Oh.
Anything else of import?
It was Doc.
Okay. Then in that case, for all those around, let us turn back time just a little. Just back to before Nim was investigating the room with all the children's clothes. Lazarus,
Hi.
you had just moved from that prep room into the kitchen proper. As you did, you stepped into the kitchen and noticed a spoon just sitting delicately on the counter, not charcoaled, not covered in any sort of soot or anything like that. Seeing as you weren't here, my apologies, I had to play for you.
Mm-hmm.
As you stepped into the room, you began to hear whisperings, soft, childlike sounds, things like children singing playtime games and echoing just slightly in that room, and it seemed to be emanating from the spoon. Being a man of your convictions, certainly finding any information about the children that had gone missing seemed important. And you were being careful. It's not like I had you do anything too insane. But you did try to at least figure out what was going on, and you took just that one step closer to see if you could localize the sound a little better. And to you, nothing much really happened after that. You took one step closer, and the sound of the children laughing and playing swelled for a moment. And then everything went black. That's really the last memory you have until you wake up. So you come awake, your eyes flutter open. The first thing that you notice is the sound. Wherever you are is quiet, very quiet. In this town, there hasn't been all that much sound to begin with. It definitely has seemed like an abandoned town, but there's been a certain amount of natural sound still. There's been a certain amount of vines rustling, and it's given a slight backdrop of audio. Where you are now, the only thing that you hear is silence and weeping. It's up to you what you want to do. I won't have you open your eyes yet if you're not ready, but that you're laying on something hard. You seem, at least from the ache in your muscles, you feel like you've probably been out for an hour or two at least, and you're definitely still in your armor. Just by the feeling of the pressure points in your back and joints where the armor is, you can tell you've been wearing it. That's about all you can tell without opening your eyes. Unless there's anything else you want to specifically check for without maybe notice or giving out any impression that you're awake yet.
So, like, all I remember was going black. I mean, as part of it was, like, waking up and not knowing what happened, I think there was no response to me to not open my eyes immediately when I came awake, so...
Okay, fair enough. So, your eyes kind of begin to slowly flutter open. You're not sure what they'll come into, so you're being cautious. It's dark wherever you are, but not so dark that you can't see anything. There does seem to be a dull amount of light that is giving you just a dim illumination of wherever you are. You're lying on your back, so as your eyes flutter open, the first thing you see is the ceiling of where you are. But it doesn't seem to make all that much sense. You seem to be looking up at a floor of some kind. You can see the tile work that is pretty common with flooring, so it just doesn't strike you as a ceiling, and the whole thing's just vaguely disorientating. The roof/ceiling that you're looking at is pretty uniform. It's just kind of almost like a tile-like material. There's nothing there that you can see visibly. There's no light fixture. There's no ventilation. It's just sort of a solid block of tile, or tiles, I should say. Without moving around or kind of taking a more general impression of your surrounding, that's what you've got.
So, my first impression is I'm strapped to a ceiling.
That's definitely, you kind of have that vertigo feeling of like, am I up where, what?
Yeah, I guess I'll just look at myself now.
So, you take a moment, look down, a little bit of a sigh of relief, I suspect. You are, in fact, still in your armor, and even your pack has been kind of slung off to one side, but still kind of hooked around your arm. You seem intact. You're definitely not attached to anything. You just seem to be laying on something. Through your body, because of course you're focused on that first.
Which way gravity's pulling me?
You're definitely being pulled down, like normal.
Like behind me?
Yeah,
It just looks
onto your
like
back.
Okay.
Through your body, because you're kind of looking at yourself, but obviously you can see kind of a little bit of the surrounding around you. It's even more confusing. Because underneath you, you seem to be lying on more what you would expect a ceiling to look like. Just kind of loose boards that have been attached to the rafters above, and it definitely strikes you as a ceiling. But nevertheless, you lay upon it.
And like this is not anything look like the house I was in. Like it's
No, you definitely seem to be somewhere else. The materials aren't the same.
Okay. Ping?
Sure.
Yeah.
You ping out, and while it's not the violent reaction you had once upon a time when you pinged next to that chasm, you are nevertheless surrounded by evil. Like being in the center of something. It's everywhere around you.
And I don't have my hammer.
Noticeably, it doesn't seem to be, what's the word? Not consecrated. It doesn't seem to be desecrated. You don't get that feeling.
Yeah. So
You're just surrounded in evil.
Yeah, so it's not like there's anything that's was built for a purpose and was desecrated. It's just...
No, you just appear to be in the center of some sort of evil. There be evil all around you. Although of its particular nature, you're not sure.
Yeah. I don't think pings tell me that much.
No. And certainly just because there's such a wash of it around you, it'd be hard to pinpoint down even if it could.
Okay. And I'm not, like, attached or anything or chained down.
No, sir.
I listen for a couple minutes first.
Okay. You take a couple of moments to listen. Roll a perception check. Let us see how far you can listen.
Passive.
Okay. Which for you, I believe, is 16?
Yeah.
So you lay there for a couple of moments and you allow yourself to kind of acclimate to your surroundings as best you can. There's been a vague dizzy sensation since you opened your eyes, just because things that don't seem to belong on the roof are on the roof, and it's noticeable. It's given you just a tiny bit of vertigo. As you lay there and kind of focus for a few minutes, that sensation sort of retreats and you start to feel a little bit more normal. As you do, you notice that vague weeping sound that you've been hearing since you woke up. It's definitely coming from close by. In fact, as you lay there and try to pinpoint it, it's probably in the room with you, though you haven't looked around yet. But it's definitely there, right there with you. It's close enough that there's a good chance it's there with you. It also seems to be coming from more than one direction in the room with you. And different pitches. There's perhaps more than one thing weeping. At least 5 based on the sounds you're hearing.
Okay. It was like... Do I hear these sounds like on the ceiling with me, or are they like below me on the
They definitely
floor?
feel like they're on the same plane as you.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll finally kind of just lean up and look around.
Okay. You lean up, and you begin to look around. The first thing that jumps to your attention, because it moves, is as you sit up, there are 5 children dispersed around the room loosely. Near your head, and slightly off to the right, is a young girl, perhaps 14, it's hard to tell in the dim light, and next to her is someone much younger, probably a boy of about 6. They've kind of huddled themselves in that corner, and as soon as you move, they both kind of instinctively shrink back into the corner. On your left side is another boy, slightly older, probably around 14 as well, if you had to take a guess at it. He doesn't flinch as hard, but even as you kind of do a perusal look of the room, his eyes never leave you. He's very watchful and seems quite nervous. The last 2 are down near your feet and are much younger. Both of them are probably only 4 or 5. And they huddle at the wall against your feet, probably about 5 or 6 feet away from you, as far away from you as they can get.
Am I just... Okay,
Yeah.
This is weird.
No, go ahead. That's what you notice immediately, because all of them kind of jolt when you start moving. But the room itself is also different and interesting. You appear to be in You'd guess a basement of some kind or a cellar, just based on the fact that there appear to be no windows. And that just seems the most logical explanation to you, unless it's perhaps some sort of holding cell. But you feel instinctively basement just from the cold. There is a slight chill in the air. Not enough that it's uncomfortable, but enough to feel it. The last thing that you notice confirms your suspicion about the ceiling and the floor not being in the right place, as you notice that there is only one door that seems to lead anywhere in this room.
And it's up at the ceiling?
It's up at the ceiling. It's also large and seems to be made of some sort of metal.
Okay, that's spooky. Alright. So, I guess the kids are all just standing there looking at me.
Yes, they seem quite nervous about you.
I kind of I'll look at the older boy that was giving me the look down first.
Okay.
I'll try to mime to him whether or not, like, we can talk. Like, if it's safe to talk.
How do you mime that to him?
Like, can we talk? Like, can we make noise?
Okay. He watches you as you make these hand signals and doesn't immediately do anything, but you can he seems to get the gist of it. Finally, off on your right side near your head, the girl that's there with one of the other young ones, she clears her throat softly. We can talk a little.
Okay. Looks like he found himself a reflection.
She sort of kind of looks at you a bit confused and then says, Who are you, big person?
You have not seen the Dragonborn.
What's a Dragonborn?
Well, that is hard to explain. He is of a peoples who have a draconic appearance.
So you're a dragon?
Dragonborn, not full-fledged.
Does that mean you can breathe fire?
He is blue, he breathes lightning.
She kind of nods her head like that makes sense, but also okay, crazy lizard man. There's that look in her eye that she doesn't quite believe you.
Can I kind of stir up and I'll kind of make myself sneeze a little bit?
Sure, just to kind of get that little
Yeah.
puff. As soon as you do, she kind of half smiles, but the other children in the room instinctively move just that little bit further away from you that they can manage.
How long have you been here?
She seems to think about it for a moment. I don't know. There's no windows and we don't leave. But you're the first one to come in a long time. Are you from home?
Your town?
Our town.
What was it called? Williesburg.
Oh. I see.
Is that a no?
No, I understand. Have you come to hurt us then?
No.
Why wouldn't you?
Why would he?
Because that's what we're here for.
Perhaps we should start at the beginning.
She kind of nods and crosses her arms. Very well, strange lizard man. We are the Lost Ones. You may call us the Lost Ones.
Very well, the Lost Ones. Does you have individual designations between yourselves?
We are the Lost Ones. We have no need of our names.
I see.
And what is your name, strange lizard man?
This one is called Lazarus.
Lazarus. I'm going to call you Lazzy.
Very well. He wouldn't mind such.
Kenna looks destroyed.
That was Lazarus, not Lazarus.
No, that was Lazarus. I asked if I could call you other things. You're like, it's Lazarus.
But these are small, frightened children.
I'm a beautiful woman.
But he's a
Dragon.
lizard. She kind of nods. She goes, "Okay, Lazzy, there are a couple of rules.
Rules are good.
They're fairly simple. Don't talk too loud. Don't ever play any games. And no one leaves this room."
I'll just look at the metal door.
She kind of like follows your eyes. "Trust me, we've tried.
May I ask what happened?
Well, the last time we tried, we lost 3 lost ones.
Is there only what's in this room now?
Sometimes there's food. Sometimes there's not. Right now, there's not.
But you are the only lost ones in this room that you know of.
We weren't always. There used to be more. But sometimes she comes and she takes one.
She...
Yes, she.
Might you describe she, then?
I'm not sure I could.
What can you describe?
She takes, and then they don't come back. We've gotten used to it.
So, then where are you from?
From where you were from.
Alright. He is not originally from there.
You aren't.
He is not, no.
I see. You talk funny, lizard man.
Well, common is not his first language.
I see. She seems moderately impressed.
He has the language of his own people, of course.
Of the dragons. Does that mean you can talk to dragons?
It does, yes.
Have you seen a dragon?
Yes.
Are they big?
Fairly. Depends how old they are.
Are they scarier than her?
Depends, he has not met her yet.
You will.
How soon do you think that'll be?
We have no concept of how long anything is in here, lizard man.
That makes sense.
But if it makes you feel any better, she usually takes the big ones first.
Well, it seems he has bought all of you. The next taking.
Finally, the boy off to your left kind of gives like a, "You think we like that? All you've done is make us wait longer to die."
Well, aren't we cheery?
You'd be cheery too, lizard man, if you'd been in here as long as we have.
I thought you said you had no feeling of time in this place.
It's been long enough.
That is fair.
If you go by how many times we've eaten, I've counted over 4,000 until I stopped counting.
Not as many days. Well, look at the lot he's landed with.
The girl she moves a little bit closer, but she pushes the small one with her back into the corner. Are you a soldier?
Not quite. A soldier of particular path.
It looks like there's something dead on you.
Is that my insectoid armor?
Yeah, she seems to
It was living at one point, yes.
She kind of reaches out and kind of watches your eyes and then gives it a quick poke.
It's
and then pulls back.
insectoid.
So you wear bugs?
He wears this bug and protect himself, yes. Metal was not very common where he was.
She kind of steps back one step. Well, get comfortable, I suppose.
Do I notice my rod's missing?
Yes, I would imagine by now you've noticed the lack of your weapon.
Do I dare try and cast it? I don't know what to do here at all.
The two young children
The ones at the foot.
down at your feet, one of them moves a little bit closer, and finally kind of grabs your pant leg, like, under the armor, and just kind of gives it a quick tug.
Yes.
Mister,
Yes.
can you get us out of here?
If he can, most certainly finds a way out of his own, he's going to take you with him, yes.
His eyes kind of get quite large. I want to go home.
Well, he's going to have some conversations with she then, isn't he?
As soon as you mention she, his eyes go super big, and he just kind of starts backing away from you a little bit.
Not to worry, Lazarus is quite big.
The man, the boy, kind of just, again, kind of gives you a bit of a cold look, and he goes, she's bigger than you.
Most opponents Lazarus has fought are bigger than him.
Have you fought something with as many arms as she has?
Now that is useful information. How many arms does she have?
Well, she had enough to take all of us in the beginning.
Well, how many of that would be? How many were there in the beginning?
He seems to think for a moment, but the girl answers for him. There was 13 of us in the room when this idiot over here decided he wanted to play.
Is there anything else you can tell him?
They think for a moment. But some of the shorter ones are just kind of shaking their heads like they don't really have anything. Finally, she's mean?
Yes. He's gotten that much.
I don't... What's helpful?
I don't know if you happen to know perhaps any goal or purpose or reason.
She just takes us.
Very well.
It gets dark when she takes us. Is that helpful?
As in, things go black and you wake up elsewhere?
No, I mean the light in the room goes out.
So before she comes and takes, the light goes out?
Yes.
That is good information.
Can you fight in the dark?
Lazarus may be able to create his own light, provided his abilities work.
It would be nice to see light.
Because
It's kind of got the stonework on the ceiling seems to radiate a soft glow.
But it's kind of dingy in here.
Yeah, it's basically like less than a candle's light across the ceiling, so by the time it gets to the floor, it's almost black.
Well, the only thing I have is daylight, and that's really bright.
Yeah, that would be pretty bright.
I have my pack.
Yes, you do.
I suppose I'd try bringing out some candles, because I have 6 candles in
Okay, so take a moment, dig through your pack, and pull out the candles.
there. And I'll try and light one and see what happens.
Okay, where do you put the candle?
Well, I can't really figure out. I'm up on the rafters, aren't I?
No, it's just it's like the loose-fitting boards that people would usually nail to the bottom of rafters to at least make a ceiling that looks a little nicer than bare rafters.
I suppose I'll use something in like my mess kit or something as like a wax sketch.
Okay, and just in the middle of the room or kind of where you are? None of them seem super comfortable with you moving near them. They're all kind of rotating around wherever you move.
I'll like put the candle in it, or like I'll put a few drops of wax first and stick it there, and I'll like slide it away from me over to them.
Okay. Did you light it already?
Yeah.
Okay. When you light it,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you kind of flick and the light blinks on, the door, the metal one, there's immediately a loud...
Just blow it out.
It stops.
Aha! Well, we know that.
All of the kids look petrified at the door.
Yeah.
Finally, Please don't do that again.
Indeed, he will not. Light is bad. I don't know what the fuck to do here. I'm just stuck in a room.
If you're out of ideas for the time being, we can step away from you. I'm happy to step back anytime you think of anything else that you would like to try or a question you would like to ask them.
Alright, sure.
And we can kind of do it in that fashion. All right. So, let us retreat back a little forward in time now. Back to the rest of the party, who know nothing of the traumas of which Lazarus is currently going through, sitting alone in a room with some children. And instead, I believe you were all at the inn again, were you not?
Yep.
Just resting for the night, I think, was the idea.
Oh, actually, no. Me and you were out.
We did the
We were
X's and
doing
O's
the
thing.
X's and O's.
You had just finished that, though, I
Yeah.
believe.
So we were gonna head back.
Yeah, I think you guys were on your way back.
But you were at the end going through the journal.
Yeah, and I had tried to prestidigitation the journal, and it was going to take some time.
Yeah. You've been working at it for a while, and you've gotten those messages out of it that we talked about in the last session, and you've cleaned it up enough that you feel like the journal won't degenerate any farther than it already has. But after cleaning it up, you've become more aware of the fact that if you want more information out of the journal, you'll probably need to find the missing pages. The pages that you have, though you've been able to clean them of the material and the gross and the wet and the mold, don't contain any more legible writing. The paper itself has degraded too much to be able to contain anything. Most of them are fragmented pieces that barely attach to the spine anymore, that sort of thing. So while it's clean and seems like it'll hold together a little bit better, you'd estimate there's at least 10 pages missing. For those of the two of you coming back, unless there's anything else you want to accomplish out there, you would arrive back at the inn by now.
Have the vines come any further through the windows?
Not noticeably so as you walk in.
I guess letting him know everything about the X's and O's and what we found with that. So we found that the X's had the bodies being fed on, and the O's were no body, and it was shifting.
Interesting. Did they change while you were out there?
Not the last time, but the first time when we walked by, they all, some of them
First two
changed.
times.
First 2 times.
And you guys closed the doors behind you, or you left them open? I forget which.
We closed them.
Interesting. And then I'll let them know what I found out about the journal.
Yeah, give them the passages that you found. This is probably Kenna and Dis's first chance to get to react to the information that Lance may have been doing something shady. How do your two characters feel about that?
Kenna's pissed. She was already not the largest of fans because of what he did to Lil, though she does not know what it is.
Okay. And Dis?
What if Lance is just getting a bad rap? What if they're just pinning it all on him because he was a new guy?
If he was a new guy, then how come there's an entire building that has like his crest and stuff in it as well?
That's right, it did have his crest.
Well,
No,
it was half his crest
Yes.
and half something else.
Maybe he just took that crest as his own afterwards. You
So
know,
he stole something from a town that he left to die?
maybe it was just a way to reminisce about it. Like,
What
this
about-
was the place that I almost saved.
What about his whole, remember when I left everything was fine?
And how often
Well, he's a
he
bard.
repeated
He also said that like 15 times.
Maybe it was...
Now just remember when I left, everything was fine.
Maybe it was fine when he left. Alright, so maybe there's a couple of things that were a little bit shady there.
He also didn't remember the man's daughter's name at all. Wasn't even close.
That's true. But for all we know, it could have been like a decade.
Or it could have just been 9 months. Time obviously passes faster here.
Well, I mean, Maybe. I'm not a time scientist myself.
Scientist.
I'm only a magical. I still think we need the brooch.
Yep.
No. Like, even if he was doing it.
Oh, we definitely need that brooch.
But we maybe don't give it right back to him.
I don't think we give it back to him, no. I mean, we could find our own way to the ether with it.
This is true.
Sounds like a super smart plan.
I'm on board.
I don't know, do you trust Lance? Honestly.
Well, I mean, we'll have to get to the bottom of this journal thing. There's like 10 pages missing.
And it's kind of
But
weird.
as of this moment, right now, would you say that you trust Lance?
I mean, how could he have known that the brooch was gonna cause evil death vines?
You're not answering my question. As of this moment, would you trust Lance?
I mean, maybe there was another bard in town.
Oh my goodness, you're still not answering my question.
Well, wait.
Dis, as of this moment, if Lance was to appear right now, would you trust him?
Well, no, because then he'd be appearing in here and I'd be like, why weren't you here earlier, man? But, I mean, beside all the Lance thing, I mean, is just nobody else find it weird that in the priest's house there was just like geometric symbols and shit? That seems pretty weird in a priest house.
Super weird in a priest house.
Like, that seemed demonic. I mean, I'm not a magic scientist either, but it seemed pretty demonic to me.
Speaking of which, can I take this opportunity to copy down from my memory as best I could the intricate drawings?
Yeah, I suspect.
We talked about got it perfectly right here.
You said you had a fair bit of paper and stuff like that. Did you want one of them to help you with it, or?
I mean,
No, I don't want their opinions of how they think that they remembered it.
Okay, so
Because
you're
I
just
had
going to
that
take some
bird's eye
time to
view
kind
of
of.
it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I have the full copy of what I thought was there in the journal.
Yeah, I would say then take the next hour and try to do as detailed a job as you can.
And then
I have this one when you're done, just to compare. Mine's pretty rough, so.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good idea. My accent is so weird today.
Okay, so that leaves Nim and Dis. Kenna needs an hour to kind of do her work. What are you guys going to do in the in-between time? What do you guys want to do? What's your next goal?
Don't do that!
Just like the rib shake from me every time they say that.
You wouldn't know because the times won't match up very well.
Well, apparently they've been saying it a lot since I disappeared.
Yeah, if you start feeling some shaking in the next couple hours or so, that might be pretty accurate.
They just say it two at a time. Like, one will say it and then the other one, then they'll look at me like...
Come on.
Truth or dare, can you stare 10 minutes into the spoon?
Friggin' idiots.
I'll go with truth.
Poor Lazarus is sitting there like, I just walked one step closer to the damn thing. Speaking of which, what have you done with Lazarus's god weapon for the time being?
I think I just had it stashed in my pack.
Okay. Just obviously to make sure we are aware of where it is. So yeah, that leaves the two of you. What are you going to do for... I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be an hour activity, but Ken is just going to be writing down some stuff, so... What are you guys doing?
I want to pull out the spoon again and see if I still hear shit.
Okay. So...
But I'm getting it close. Like, I'm like pulling out the pack. But I'm being a little bit careful about it. I'm not just going willy-nilly.
Okay, so you reach into your backpack, into the small section that you've kind of tucked it away into, and as soon as your hand kind of grips around the spoon again to pull it out, you do begin to hear that faint kind of...
I just let go immediately.
Like, still making noises.
I'm gonna go talk to Willie for a minute.
Alright, I'm just gonna stay here.
Okay.
People can't see, but Dis just like motioned that he was going to reach into his pack again. I'm just going to stay right here. All right, go ahead, Nim.
Hey Willie, just wondering, and I want to show him the journal.
Okay, he kind of pokes his head on. Oh, yeah?
Do you know, have you seen any, like, pages around for, like, this type of size and shape and writing style?
Kind of looks over at you. Goes, I ain't over here.
Hand it over.
Gives it a look. Alright, well, I ain't many books in town, so I reckon, especially little ones like this, maybe a while ago, like years back, when things were still not quite so bad, might have seen a couple in the mortuary house. Maybe. Where'd you find it?
In the priest's house.
I suppose that makes sense. Mortuary house is next to the priest's house.
That's the one that backs onto the graveyard?
That's right.
Alright.
Y'all been in there yet?
No. No, not yet.
I haven't.
Is there,
That's all I can remember seeing him at anyway.
is there anything more you can tell me about the mortuary house?
Well, let's say. It's a fairly big house. Used to put the dead in there. We're waiting to bury them. Anything more specific you'd like? What sort of information are you looking for, young fella?
Like, how many floors does it have? Is there anything of note inside, other than the pages?
Alright. One question at a time. Let's say, floors. Two if you count... No. You count the basement?
Yep.
Right. That's two then. 2 floors.
Okay. And, was there anything... Was this where the brooch was?
That's what I remember, yeah.
So it's the source of the vines, then, as far as you recall?
I don't know if it's necessarily the source, but it's one of the first buildings we couldn't get back into.
Was there anything else in... Were there, like, bodies in this building when you guys abandoned it?
That might have been at the time. Couldn't quite get enough people together to dig a grave back then. What with everybody freaking out about people disappearing. So it might have been a couple stashed away that didn't get a chance to be taken by the grave digger.
Okay.
Of course, they'd probably be skeletons by now.
The gravedigger, did he live in the mortuary house?
Yeah. Lived up on the upper floor.
Okay. So there's no basement then?
No, there's a basement. Upper floor is the main floor. Second floor is the basement floor.
Okay.
Had to keep him in the basement, Kept him cooler.
Right. What, and you said it's a fairly big house?
Fair sized. Bigger than these ones out here. Probably about... At least a little bigger than the priest's house. Maybe double? Had to keep it big, you understand. It's easier to keep the basement cool.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good for now. We'll probably have to go investigate that tomorrow.
Alright. If you're heading up that way, you make sure you be careful. The vines are mighty thick up there, and things have gotten pretty swampy since the fog rolled in. Makes the ground kinda squishy.
Would there... I mean, we've been traveling on stilts. Is there a better way to travel towards this house if the ground's squishy?
I'm sorry. Not that I can think of anyway. To be honest, you folks are doing better with the stilts than I did.
Okay.
But the vines are still there, though. It might be mushy and a little stagnant watery, but there's still a fair amount of vines up there. They grow right over top of the water just fine.
Is there a safe path, Like, if we came at it from the graveyard side, is that less swampy?
Last time I was up there, there's a couple of ways to get to the house, but that was years ago. Don't know what it looks like now. Haven't been near it forever. Not a long while.
Okay.
But I reckon if you got to the priest house and you got to the graveyard all right, you seem to be a fairly well done group of fellas.
Mine's one.
We're not all fellas.
I meant no disrespect, man. Just sort of call everybody fellas up here.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it for now. I better go check on Dis. I think he might be looking at something shiny.
I reckon that's a bad idea.
So do I. Remembers that he also has a spoon.
Suddenly feels not so secure in being smarter than Tess.
Okay, so I'll head back with this information and go check on Dis.
Okay.
Disabelt.
So Dis, I mean, you weren't alone. You were in the room with Kenna, but anything you did while Nim was out of the...
Nah, I'd be just wandering around the room looking at things.
Okay.
Nothing in particular, just...
No, that seems fair enough. Roll a perception check.
23.
Okay. So you've been wandering around the room while Kenna's been working, probably for at least a half hour already, at writing down the patterns that she had while Nim is kind of working with the older man. And as you've been walking around, the vines seem more or less to be where you left them. But just as Nim is coming out of the back room with Willie, you walk by one of the windows and you notice when you go by that the vines aren't moving when you go near them, aside from sliding slightly away from you if you get too close, as they've been doing during the daytime before. But when you walk by the last window, just as Nim opens the door, there's just sort of a very faint kind of shimmy side to side. They kind of make a quick little sound. Just as you go, the vines themselves. They kind of just tap against it.
Wait.
I motion over toward him, just opening the door.
Okay.
And do that again. Just go back and open the door again.
I just want to stare and watch as he does it.
Close the door. Reopen the door.
Doesn't shake again when he reopens the door.
It was so weird. These things just shook the vines. They shook when you opened the door the first time, but it didn't happen that time.
Did they just shake again?
They did.
They did.
When I started talking?
When you started talking, yes, but it didn't happen when he opened the door.
I continue talking, just watching them.
Okay. There's another pause for several moments, and you're talking whatever, I don't know what you're saying to Dis to kind of...
It's like, blah, blah, blah.
Just making noises, really watching.
Yeah, a couple of moments go by, and then there's just another...
So just...
But you've been talking, and then it happened, and
So
you're
it just
still
seems
talking.
like it's more random to me right now.
It seems to be happening at its own cadence, rather than something specific to you.
It's so, go over here and look at this.
I'm just kind of watch it for a second. I want to get Nim over there looking at it too and see if it...
Okay, up to you, Nim. Do you go over there?
Yeah, I'll go over.
Okay. So the two of you are staring at the vines. How close are you, and kind of what are you doing?
I'd be the same distance I've been seeing it the whole time. I just keep Nim around that same distance that we can see.
Okay. Go ahead, Nim, whatever you want to do.
So just watch. These things are gonna just shake. Did you see it? I just heard it. They shook.
I'll do an investigation.
Okay, go ahead. What are you looking for?
Any changes to anything when I hear the shaking?
Okay.
Oh, that's 19.
Okay. So you're watching the vines, and as best you can tell, they seem to be shaking about once every couple of minutes. It's not super consistent, but at best you can tell, it doesn't seem to correspond to anything you do directly. It just seems to kind of be happening. The sound itself is coming from the vines, just sort of gently brushing against the wood and the frame and that sort of stuff. While you're watching, Dis, you notice that this last one is coming from two windows. Not just the one you're watching, but the one about 10 feet to its left.
I'll go over and check that window out.
Like it's over here too.
Okay, go ahead. Either investigation or perception, whatever you're doing with it.
Actually, I'll do perception because I'm just trying to figure out if it's the same stuff going on over there. More
Sure.
so than investigating the exact cause. 22.
Okay. Seems to be more or less the same. The vines, all of them in the window, just every once in a while seem to sort of shudder.
Yeah, it's over here too. What's going on?
The vines approach.
What time, if I look out, I mean, time-wise, it's really hard to tell here, but has already changed the lighting?
Not yet, no.
Based on my estimates, would it be close to the time it would change over?
You feel like you probably have about 2 hours of daylight left. If you had to make a rough guess. And it is a rough guess, for sure.
Did the shaking only start? It only started after Kenna went to do her.
It's the very first one you heard was when Nim stepped out of the room with Willie.
Right.
It's shaking at a third window.
Like, I'm gonna go check on Kenna really quick. I'm like, it's in that window too.
Okay, you go over to Kenna.
It's like, because you're in another room, right?
I think so.
I think you said you were just in the main room.
In the main room, yeah.
Yeah. So with you guys, but she's been focused.
Oh, she did. Okay, actually, I won't bug her too much. Actually, I'm going to go over, though, without interrupting really what she's doing. I just want to kind of look and see progress-wise.
Okay,
Where's she
she's maybe about halfway through. She set out about 10 sheets of paper, and she seems to have worked her way through 5.
I'm breaking out.
I'm sure I can sense him right there.
Yeah, I mean, you heard him walk up, and it's not impossible for you to hear the slight rattling from time to time, though you may have been ignoring it just because you were focusing.
Like,
Is everything alright?
this shaking, the vines are shaking. It's super weird.
What do you mean the vines are shaking?
I point out the windows.
Is there more windows now that are shaking?
4 windows now. There's only 2 windows left that aren't.
Like, 1 second. I'm gonna go check outside.
I'll come with you.
I go outside. Or I carefully go outside.
Okay.
Follow him.
So the two of you open the doors.
But I announced that we're going outside.
Okay, for Nim's benefit.
I'll
Okay.
come with them.
So you all group up at the outside door. You open the door and stare out. Everything seems pretty normal. I mean, you can only see a good 10 feet because of the fog anyway, but things seem more or less normal. But because of the way that the inn is situated, you can't see the vines out in the market area. The windows are really the only place that the vines are visible to you.
I want to look around at the windows that the shaking's happening more around, but look at it from the outside.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So every window but one now seems to do it every little while. And it's the vines kind of crawl up the side of the building and then up and around the window frames, either from above, below, or the different sides. And you just notice the whole vine shakes. It's part of what makes the rattle is they're rubbing against the outside of the building as well. There's just sort of that pulsation, that rattle.
Through the whole vine.
Through the whole vine down to the ground at the very least. It gets harder to tell then because they just kind of come up from everywhere.
I mean, I could try talking to the vine again and ask it what it's doing.
Maybe not a bad idea. I'll ask.
All 6 windows are shaking.
I'm going to go in.
Let's ask Willie first.
Yeah. I'm going to go ask Willie. Grab Willie.
Okay, so you pop into the little room. Willie is tucked into one of the back corners and he has his fingers in his ears.
Well, this doesn't look good.
I'm going to go over.
Okay, he kind of looks up at you when you come into the room and gives you a quick, sit down hand motion.
Let's get down.
Okay, get down.
So I'm making less nervous.
Okay. Nim, did you go in with them as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So he just stares at you. He's not removing his fingers from his ears.
I just make a motion to him, like I want to talk to him softly.
He pops out, one finger and he's, yeah.
Why are the vines shaking?
They just do that sometimes.
What happens usually when they do that?
Not sure. I don't go outside when they're shaking. I just don't like the sound.
So why'd you tell us to get down?
I don't know. Don't feel like drawing attention to myself.
I'm gonna insight him right now. This
Okay.
is all he's worried about, or residing something.
Go ahead.
Knowing insight, this is gonna. That would be. 17.
Okay. He's definitely he looks too scared for it to just be a sound he doesn't like.
I don't think you're telling us the whole truth, Willie. If we want to make it through this alive, you're gonna have to give us more.
Roll persuasion. Or I guess intimidation if you're trying to be threatening. Whichever.
Yeah, I can't really deceive him. Yeah, I'm persuading. Don't really get to be super intimidating at this point.
Interesting that you can't be intimidated.
I'm using my inspiration.
Okay.
Of course, I roll a nat 1 on my highest. 22.
He looks at you and
Sorry, 21.
okay. He looks at you and again he seems wary and maybe even a little scared of something, but finally he kind of slowly nods and he goes, I suppose it don't do no good. Y'all don't know anyway. Usually, when the shaking starts, that's when someone goes missing.
It's late. Lazarus is already missing.
Yeah, guess they want something else.
And every time it started shaking before somebody's gone missing, or have you been alone at any time when it's happened?
Can't say for sure. Sometimes I don't see somebody get taken. But usually.
Does it appear like the vines are crouching in more into the inn, or they're just doing the shaking?
Doesn't seem to be creeping in, more just shaking.
And I want to do one more insight and see if he's still telling me the whole truth, or if he's
Go
just
ahead.
giving me enough to... 23.
He seems to have... He doesn't seem to be holding back anything anymore. At least you don't get that impression.
How long ago was it that you remember the last time the vines were shaken?
Oh. Probably a couple of years. It's mostly been me for a long time, so... If it came shaking, I reckon it come for me.
It's because you two kept saying her name.
Whose name? Isabel Denise?
There's nothing wrong with saying it. You can say it too.
Is Willie shitting himself in the corner right now?
He definitely doesn't appreciate what's going on. He's got kind of a look on his face, like a grandfather would give a child who said something
Stern
they
look.
shouldn't. He's got the stern look on his face.
That was like a constant one?
You know, that does really actually be grating. I can understand Willie.
Maybe, Nim, could you do us a favor?
Yo, what's that?
Could you send Bird out?
No.
Why?
He is a member of the family.
Yeah, but he's
Cannon fodder too much.
he's the only person that doesn't truly die.
Use your own animals.
Well, hold on.
But I can't speak with them, otherwise I would use my own hands.
I wanted to
I've thought about it.
reach into my bag again,
Okay.
grab the spoon.
Okay. As you do, again, you hear this kind of saw. Both sounds kind of overlap, which is a little disconcerting just by happenstance. So it's kind of like a...
Is it any louder or different than the last time, other than that it's syncing up a bit?
You don't think so.
I let it go. Spoons are still creepy.
You could try to follow the instructions.
No,
This is true, if we could.
it's a terrible idea.
Alright, so we should plan this out. So what are we gonna do if one of us just disappears in the next, 10 minutes?
How would we disappear? Willie, how did the people disappear?
Willie's gone.
Fred, I can't tell you. It's never happened to me.
You've never seen anyone getting taken?
Not by the vines. I've seen people disappear with the shinies.
Well, if we stay here, then we should be fine. It's never happened before.
I'm gonna stand on top of something.
Okay, like a counter,
Yeah.
because you're on that the kitchen that inns tend to have.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And lay flat.
Okay.
And not move. And try to slow my breathing down so my heartbeat slows as well. I'm kidding, I'm not doing all this.
Okay.
I could try to talk to the vine.
Maybe not a bad idea.
Who has the highest passive perception?
Me.
Kenna, when you're laying down on the counter, because you're laying down so your ear is closer to the counter, and you can almost feel the vibration a little bit in the building, just because there's so much rattling going on out in the main room. But you hear something else too, like gravel crunching, or it almost sounds like footsteps out in the market.
I think there's someone in the market.
Oh, it's time to throw down.
I want to go to a window and look out.
Okay, you start out into the main room.
Carefully. I'll do it really slowly. And
I'm gonna go look out the
Stealthily?
window.
yeah.
Okay, roll stealth.
That's an amount of stealth. 23.
Okay. So you begin moving very stealthily through the main room as the rattling and shaking continues to kind of follow you and grow. As you get to one of the windows, and kind of just as you're getting close enough that the reflectivity would allow you to see outwards, there's a soft on the door, just kind of continuous, slow knocking.
I just go back to the other.
And we'll end the session for today there, or for now there, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
Yay.
Wow, what a cliffhanger! I wonder what's going to happen next time. Seriously, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening in. If you liked what you heard, share us with your friends. If you hated what you heard, share us with your enemies. Seriously, though, like, comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll find out what happens to Doubles and Dragons next time.